Hi guys, this is Wim from Taiga tools. In this video I'm going to demonstrate this new router template, the Lamello Cabineo router template, to make these Cabineo fittings. These are made for fast assembly. The benefit is that you don't need any side drilling for them. You can use them as a standalone, so no glue needed, and you can prepare everything in the workshop and flat pack all your sheets ready for transport and assembly at the customer's place. This is the router template. The router template works with a 24mm copy ring which fits on your router, a 15mm plunge router bit used for the connectors, and then an 8mm or 5mm router bit or drill if it fits your router for the matching hole of the connector. Why are there two different kinds, 8 and 5mm? That's because you have the standard connector which will just tighten itself in the 5mm hole, and then there is the new connectors which has an M6 threaded screw. So in the 8mm hole you are going to fit this little brass part which has the M6 thread inside, and then you can easily assemble and disassemble your workpiece as many times as you like, so it's not going to damage the hole. Compared to with the 5mm, you will lose grip when you are putting it, assembling or disassembling it too often. With the Lamello Cabineo router template, you are able to machine both the connecting hole and the connector hole. So we have three places here on the router template. We have for the right side, we have for the left side, and then in the middle we can free position where we want to have the matching hole and the connector pockets. We have a center line indicator for both holes, so when we mark out the line on our workpiece we can center it out with the indicator here. Now on the back side of the router template we have our pre-settings. So this router template works for 22, 19, 18 and 16 material thicknesses. We have a few holes in here which is the exact position on how to put the router template. So the router template comes with M4 double pins which you can just screw onto the template just like that by hand without a screwdriver, and then you will just put the double pin into whatever thickness your workpiece is. So let's say 18mm is the thickness of our material. Then I will just screw them in place on 18, and this will use the alignment for our workpiece. Now, like I said, that for the pockets here, that's always a fixed distance, so they stay the same, and then for the connecting hole you will use these presets. Now the distance of the connecting hole is based on your material thickness minus 5mm. From the edge the distance is 37mm. Now why do we use 37mm? Is that if you are using shelf pin holes which have a standard starting distance from the edge of 37mm, we can use also those holes for the connecting hole for the connectors. And the same as well, that if we would like to add a fixed shelf but we do not use any shelf pin holes, then the distance, the center till the edge of the router template is also 37mm. So I will show you as well in the video on how to set up your router template then if you want to have somewhere in the middle of your cabinet, for example, want to have a fixed shelf using the connectors. As said in the beginning, the router template works with a 24mm copy ring. Now the same as our MFT router template, these are precision machined, but each copy ring has different kind of tolerances. For example, this copy ring fits perfectly, but if I would take another 24mm copy ring, it might be a little bit snug, too snug. So for that reason we have provided a steel wool abrasive pad and some sandpaper. You can use that to either rub over the copy ring or rub a bit inside the holes to make sure that you get a perfect fit. Now if your copy ring is really loose, we also provide the aluminum tape again that you can put around the edge of your copy ring to make sure that you have a good fit and that there is not too much play. I have made sure now that my copy ring fits to all of the pockets, and now it is time to set up our router to make sure that we're gonna make precision pockets and holes with this new router template. Again, the same as with our MFT router template, when you are installing your copy ring to your router, use a centering mandrel to make sure that the copy ring is exactly centered on the shank. Now, same with the MFT router template, we advise that you do not use a router which has a self-centering system, because although it is marketed as a self-centering system, many cases it is not 100% center, and in worst cases you cannot even calibrate that system, meaning that you're going to create an offset and you're not going to get accurate pockets and holes for the connectors. So I'm just going to position my copy ring. I'm going to take my centering mandrel, put it like that, make sure that the mandrel is in the shank correctly. Make sure that the base is loose, so it's actually pressing against the mandrel. What I do as well is that I turn my copy ring just to make sure, and now I'm going to screw my copy ring tight. I have added now the 15mm plunge router bit, because first I'm going to create the pockets for the actual Cabineo connector. So I've taken my top and bottom panel, and I'm going to first put the dowel pins in the correct position. So I'm going to machine these pockets. So I'm going to put two dowel pins on the side. I'm going to put two dowel pins here. So that when I'm using the template, now the dowel pins are perfectly aligned on the exact position needed to machine those connector pockets. So make sure that you have clamped down both your workpiece and the router template properly. I'm going to start machining those connector pockets by plunging through those 3 holes here. Make sure you have set the correct depth on your router. Now I've machined my first pocket, but I also want to create one connector in the middle and then the other one on the other side. Now the other side we can do again with the pre-settings on the fixture, but for the center I'm going to draw first a center line to align the router template. I can already do the same on the other side. Now to use the center pockets, we just remove the dowel pins, the alignment pins from the side. And you can leave the two ones here going that direction. Because now we can align the template following the line, our marking line, and the center indicators on the router template. Make sure that after clamping that the router template has not moved, and the same that it also did not move away from your workpiece, so that the two dowel pins are still nicely aligned against your workpiece. So we have now machined all pockets on each side of our first workpiece, and we can already start putting the connectors in there if we want. As you can see, they fit very nicely and very easily. Now, if they are a little bit loose, that is not a problem, because once you are tightening your whole cabinet together, they will start grabbing each other into the wood. And if they are a little bit snug, just tap a little bit with a hammer on that. It depends on the tolerances of your router bit, whether you will have a little bit loose fit or a very tight fit. Again, 15mm router bit, the tolerance depends from manufacturer to manufacturer. Now that I have machined my top and bottom, I'm going to start machining the side panels, where I'm gonna go and do the matching connecting hole. So first of all, make sure that you swap the bit in your router. So I have swapped it now to a 5mm drill bit. So now I'm going to change also my dowel pins. The ones on the side can stay. Now I'm going to choose one of the preset thicknesses on here. In case you are working with two different materials, let's say your side panel is going to be thicker than your top and bottom, then take the thickness of your bottom and top panels. So in this case I'm using 18mm. I'm also going to mark out the center lines. And the same deal here. So once you have put the dowel pins on the template, you can just align it accordingly, clamp the template and your workpiece properly. And also make sure that you have readjusted the depth of your router. So we have now machined our connectors, inserted the connectors, and in the side panels we have machined our connecting holes, and now it's just fairly simple. Align your piece, and then with the connectors, depending what set you buy, it comes with a ball and hex key, which then fits into the screws, and you can then simply tighten your cabinet. Now first tighten them a little bit, so you can still play a little bit with your side to make sure that you're gonna have a perfect alignment here. And now we have already a partially finished cabinet with the Lamello Cabineo connectors and the Taiga tools Lamello Cabineo Router Template. Now, how do we make the connecting holes if we would like to have a fixed shelf with the connectors, for example, in the middle? Now, that is just simple. You first mark out the position of the shelf. It's good to mark with a cross, for example, on which side of the line that you would like to have it. So the distance from the edge of the router template to the center of the holes is also 37 millimeter. Now you will find in the Cabineo instructions that the position of the matching holes, of the connecting holes, is the material thickness minus 5. So when we have 37 here, we are going to deduct the 5 millimeters, so that is 32. So meaning when we have our line here, we are going to position our router template, the edge, 32 millimeter from our line. You could use, for example, a saw rail as a straight alignment piece, which I have put on those 32 millimeter marks away from the fixed shelf. And then I have just added one alignment dowel on the side here, so I can easily position my router template correctly. When you use a straight piece to align the template, make sure that it is thinner than the router template so that your router base has movement over it. So I've made my holes in a center position for my cabinet, so I can now add my fixed shelving right there and just tighten them the same way. So you can see that here is the line of the position of our shelf that we wanted, and the 32 millimeter from where we aligned our template.